Valiant fans rejoice. Rai is back, and he's enjoying life in suburban wedded family bliss. However, everything is not as it seems, and we're going to talk about it in our review of Rai, the Book of the Darque, #1 from Valiant Entertainment. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Rai, the Book of the Darque, #1 from Valiant. We sort of jump right into the middle of a possibly surreal scenario where Raijin, Momo, and Uncle Fusion are just living the happy suburban wedded bliss life. They're cooking casseroles, they're playing catch in the yard, and just everything is right with the world. When Raijin and Rai are outside playing catch, they happen to catch the eye of their next door neighbor, a person named Ray, who we know from previous stories is Ray, aka Bloodshot, inside the body of Alice Klein, and the two souls are occupying the same space. To be neighborly, Rai says, "Hey Ray, why don't you come on over for dinner? We'll get to know each other and we'll all be happy neighbors." Ray seems a little hesitant, but she says sure. She comes on over, and Momo is immediately suspicious of what's going on. She doesn't like Momo. There's something off about Momo, or no, I should say Momo thinks something's off about Ray. That's probably the better way to put it. And she's just not having any of it. They sit down, they eat their dinner. Everybody's cordial. Everybody's at least courteous with each other. But Momo is giving Ray dirty looks the whole time. And then Momo excuses herself after Ray asks a very serious question, which is, does anybody know anything about something called the Howling War? Which is a question both Raijin and Rai have also been thinking about. And when that question is posed out loud, Momo gets set off, she gets really upset and decides to excuse herself into the kitchen. The rest of the family thinks something's up. They get very concerned about Momo and they follow her into the kitchen. They say, what's going on? Well, Momo is now sad because she believes that she has to go now through everyone and wipe all of their memories all over again. And everybody's sort of confused, like, well, what are you talking about? Why are you wiping people's memories? Why are you wiping our memories? What are you talking about? Well, you asked a question about the Howling War, and every time you ask that question, I have to wipe everybody's memories, and nobody seems to understand what's going on or what she's talking about. Suddenly, Uncle Fusion, who's sort of like half there and half not, he's sort of lost his marbles a little bit, chimes in and he says, well, the Howling War is an ongoing war that's taking over the entire world, and it's a fight between the forces of technology and the forces of magic. Momo suddenly says, damn it, why did you say that out loud? Now I have to wipe all your memories. And then Momo turns into this sort of tentacled, morph muted beast and begins trying to attack everybody. Ray grabs a sword and launches an attack against Momo, or somebody pretending to be Momo, giving Rai, Raijin, and Uncle Fusion a chance to run out of the house and escape. We catch up with Raijin, and Uncle Fusion a little bit later as they're trudging through the woods and the forest, and they have no idea where they're going. It seems that they had been kept in that house as prisoners for a very long time on behalf of whatever's going on with the Howling War. And Momo, or the thing pretending to be Momo, was keeping them there to make sure that they never escaped. And through some deductive reasoning and conversation, Raijin figures out, well, they're keeping us and didn't kill you because they need you. The technology forces want you because we each have an offspring, which is an AI artifact from the Bloodfather inside of us. So the technology forces want us so they can get the offspring to Bloodfather and make him whole again and make him more powerful. On the other side, the Dark wants us, particularly Rai, they want you to turn you into a weapon because you are a fusion of the technological and the organic. So they want us alive, but we are definitely not working out of free will, and they want to enslave us and keep us trapped. So we've got to get out of here. Rai leads the trio through the forest in some aimless direction. He doesn't know which. And as they stop and talk and kind of consider their next options, the trees all come to life and they snatch up Uncle Fusion and they possess him on behalf of the forces of magic, which calls itself the Dark. And the Dark speaks through Uncle Fusion and says, you've got to come back with us. You have to submit to us. We need you to win the war against technology, whether you like it or not. And that's how we end the issue. Let's talk about the technical aspects of the comic, starting with the character development. If you are brand new to Rai and haven't read a Rai comic ever, or at least in a very long time, you get all the characters built up and established all at once, very quickly. pretty much a crash course. You get a sense of the world, who are the players, how they relate to each other, a little bit of a hint at their personality types, and the stakes of the conflict that is developing here by Dan Abnett, who's a writer. There's admittedly too much happening in the overall plot to really get everybody a big moment to shine, so you can really dig into who they are and what they do. But you get a lot of the players. So if you've never read Rye before, you get a crash course and it works out pretty well. Let's talk about the artwork by Emilio Utrera. It's okay. It's pretty good, actually. Rye looks like Rye. If you're familiar with what Rye's supposed to look like, he looks like himself and all the other characters as well. The action scenes are pretty energetic. There's a little bit of blood, not too much, but it makes sense for the scenes that are happening. And you get some monster designs in here that are pretty solid. So overall, it's a good set of visuals. Utrera did a good job, and you'll be, I would say, pretty pleased with the visual presentation. Let's move over to talk about Dan Abnett's pacing and structure. It's a bit of a mixed bag, and I'll explain why. The first half of the comic, you're introduced to the family and their neighbor Ray and the dinner situation and how all of a sudden goes wrong. So the first part doesn't move very quickly, and you just sort of feel like, okay, what's going on here, and sort of loses your attention a little bit if you don't stick with it. And it's very easy to do. Now, you can do stories like that and hold people's attention, but that really mostly works if you already have a series, even if it's an ongoing or at least a mini-series, where you're already grounded in the characters and the situation. It's been so long since we've seen Rye in any capacity that when you get introduced to this suburban home with the characters acting like a nuclear family, you're not quite sure if that is normal or not. So you don't know that it's out of place. You lose that element of disconnect where you know that they're supposed to be different than what they are. You don't have that here because it's been so long and things have been, who knows what's been going on in the times in between. So the pacing is off, the narrative, it feels off through maybe the first third of the comic, almost up to the halfway point. But once you figure out, oh, this isn't the scenario that they're being held prisoners against their will, they just don't know it yet because their minds have been wiped, then all of a sudden, all the pieces come together, the pace picks up, and the comic reads a lot better. So the first part of the story is a little bumpy. When it gets to the twist, it works out a lot better. Let's talk about the themes and what is the underlying kind of the point or the message here. And it's really just Rye stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's the no-win scenario. Because if he sides with technology, he's helping Bloodfather, who has been a very lifelong enemy for him. But if he goes on the side of magic, they want to destroy everything, including his friends and family. So he's in that no-win scenario. So that's really the theme of it is, what do you do when you have no options? Final thoughts. What do we think about Rye, the Book of the Darque #1 from Valiant Entertainment? You get a quick, almost crash course introduction to Rye and all his supporting characters. You find out that he is a pawn in a world encircling a world encompassing war. That said, Abnett's script starts a little shaky through the first third, but it picks up and it is a much better read by the time you get to the end, and the art throughout is pretty solid. Therefore, we're going to give Rye, the Book of the Darque #1 from Valiant Entertainment a 7.8 out of 10. Give us a thumbs up if you're a Rye fan. Let us know in the comments, what is your favorite part about Rye? And after hearing this review, are you picking this one up or are you going back to the earlier volumes of Rye? Give us a thumbs up if you like Rye and let us know what you think in the comment section. Otherwise, please stay tuned for the outro for the next review.